Oh, we've covered a lot of future stars on signing day heading off to Columbus. This year is going to be no different. Right now, Ohio State has the third-ranked class overall in the country. Pretty darn impressive as you look just about every year. They are in the top 10 at Ohio State. We're glad to bring in Ryan Day, the Buckeye head coach now. He's had the top class in the Big Ten every year he's been the head coach. So, Ryan, explain to me the emotions that you're feeling on a day like today.
Well, it's excitement for the recruits and their families. This is something they've worked hard towards. Growing up, they see National Signing Day and they picture themselves signing and going to a great school. And for our guys, I'm just happy for them. This is a point in their life where, it's sort of marks a time where, high school has now ended and now it's on to a new journey as they officially make Ohio State their next destination.
That was a very nice answer, but I do want to know what it's like for you, because I would assume as a head coach, especially when you're going after guys that are #1 recruit in the country, top 15 in the country, that there's some part of joy that you do have it as locked in, but there's got to be some relief, right?
Yes. It's, the landscape of college football has changed a lot in the last few years. It's changed a lot this past year. It's changed a lot in the last month. And so as you get closer to making it official, there can be a lot that comes with it. And, we certainly are excited about this class. But it is, at the end of the day, an opportunity to take a deep breath after a lot of hard work.
I want to ask you about some of the players that you're bringing in. Let me start with the quarterback, Air Noland. Years ago, there was a basketball player at Nebraska who had the perfect name, Jordan Hooper. You have a quarterback named Air? Yeah,
Air Noland. And actually, it's funny how it comes up Air and no land, it's really a cool name for a lot of reasons. But Air is a special young man. It has nothing to do with his name. He's just got a great maturity about him. He's a guy who, really is a great leader. He's a guy who you can tell right off the bat. He's got a great maturity about him. It doesn't take long for you to meet him to realize how special he is. He's got great athleticism. He's smart, and he's going to be a very, very good leader. He can do a lot of things. I think he's a baller, and I'm excited to get to work with him.
Is there any hesitation at all when you're looking at a guy on film and right away you're like, oh, he's a lefty QB?
No. It's just different. It looks different for whatever reason. Take a snap a little bit different. Maybe roll out a little bit more to his left than to the right. The ball spins a little bit different. But other than that, no.
What made you go down to Texas to get running back James Peoples?
We recruit nationally here, and we identified him as the best running back in the country, and we went after him right from the jump. And he's special. We think we played a lot of young running backs at freshmen, and we think as freshmen he's the next one. Built low to the ground, powerful. A 3-down back, and from a great family. Just has really bright future ahead of him. And again, another guy that we're fired up to get going here in the next month.
You have such an amazing track record at Ohio State of developing wide receivers. There's plenty we could talk about in this class, but tell me why Mylan Graham stands out to you.
Very, very high ceiling with Mylan. He has all the tools. He's got strong hands. He's a really pretty mature route runner for where he's at in terms of his development. And he has all the tools. Wanted to be a part of this from early on. He's been loyal. He's going to come in and work. He's got a chance to be the next, really, really good wide receiver at Ohio State.
Brian, how do you think recruiting will be altered for you now that you're in a conference that has 18 teams, and starting next year, there in September, there will be 18 teams in the Big Ten, including 4 on the West Coast?
Just more and more competitive. We're going to be out there some. They're going to be out here some. So, really good programs, and they certainly had good seasons. Some of them in the last couple of years, and have historically been very powerful programs. So just more and more competitive.
What stands out with this group you have in terms of the DBs? Feels like there's a lot of depth in this group at that position.
Yeah, I think we did a great job. Tim Walton did a great job with two Ohio guys, Bryce West and Aaron Scott, both really talented players who, grabbed onto this thing and helped lead this class. And then Miles Lockhart is going to start at nickel for us. He can also play corner. He has some versatility. I think he fits what Jim Knowles really likes in that position. So 3 really, really talented players that, are going to get an opportunity to go play in a really competitive room.
Ryan Day gets to catch a breath for just a little bit and then off to Arlington for the Cotton Bowl. Congrats on this class, Ryan. Thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Take a look at some of the top players coming to this Ohio State program. We mentioned Jeremiah Smith. He's the #1 overall ranked prospect to go to the Big Ten. First one to do so since Quinn Ewers back in 2021. Of course, went to Ohio State at first. And no shock that the top 2 guys are wide receivers after what Ohio State has been doing at that position over the years. There's little fascinating drama behind the scenes. There's always, especially in top 100 players, the potential that one of these guys could switch at the last minute. They're getting recruited so heavily. Howard, you had your eye on a guy that most experts are saying, we think he might actually leave Ohio State, but he didn't. Tell us about him.
Houston is really a marvelous player, one of those types of guys. He's a high 4-star guy, and really he's really quick off the ball, able to make plays. I think that's what you really want to see when you watch film of a young guy. You see how long he is and just his ability to reach, fighting through tackles. You like that, the first step. I think as he continues to develop as a player, he's going to be one of those guys that you can move inside and outside, doing a good job of using that inside rip. One of the areas I think Ohio State has to continue to get better at is in the offensive line. And Ian Moore is one of those guys. You see him playing left tackle right now and doing a great job at that position. He's a guy I think can play inside as well. Knows he wants to finish the ball, finish his blockers, and dominate guys. That's what you want to be able to see. High at times, but this is part of the development as young players.
And he'll be blocking for running back James Peoples, who some viewed as the top running back in this class. He's a Texas kid, and I don't think I need to tell you guys about the type of football they play down there in Texas. The first thing that jumps off the tape is the burst and acceleration. Clearly has elite traits, but to combine with that, he's got feel, vision, and patience. He's a mature runner for a younger guy. And I like when my running back refuses to go down, run like he got something to prove. That's James Peoples. And then Ohio State has done a great job of developing corners throughout the year. Well, they got that in Bryce West, a Glenville product. Troy Smith, Ted Ginn, Marshawn Lattimore. That is a Glenville pipeline to Columbus. And another key note, Michigan pursued him heavily. He's got a track background, played both ways. Great athlete with NFL intangibles. I think he can compete for a starting job day one.
Yeah, and they usually have more than one top corner. So the other guy is Aaron Scott, very highly ranked, also pursued heavily by Michigan and Oregon. Oregon made a strong push for him, and he grew up liking Oregon. So this was a good win, even though he was an in-state kid. Ohio State did a great job recruiting him. He's a track guy. He's been a sprinter. He's done long jump, played some wide receiver, and very fluid athlete who I think has a ton of upside. Then they went to West Michigan, just about an exit away from me, and found Gabe Van Sickle at Coopersville. Had a fantastic senior year. They went on him late. He was committed to Northwestern at the time, which if you've been following Northwestern, they've had a lot of success on the offensive line. They know how to evaluate that position. Gabe is a kind of a classic Midwestern offensive lineman, tough but very athletic. He's actually in basketball season right now. Then Coach Day was talking about the quarterback, Aaron Nolan. They did a fantastic job recruiting him. You know, he's down there in Georgia and had a lot of options. Corey Dennis, Brian Hartline did a fantastic job recruiting him. They signed his tight end, Jelani Thurman, last year, so they already had a little bit of a foothold in. This kid's won a ton of games, won a state title, and went to another state title game, so he's been to 2 of them during his high school career.
We have to talk about Jeremiah Smith, the #1 overall recruit in the country. Here's how impressive he was. A recruiting analyst who covered high school football in the state of Florida since the 1970s said, quote, "In the history of Florida high school football, he's in the top 3 all time." Wow. Obviously, that's unprovable and hyperbolic, but still, it's one heck of a statement. And look at the company he is in. The recent names who have been top overall recruits are incredibly impressive, including, as we mentioned, Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence just a few back, and in the Big Ten a few years ago, Rashawn Gary as well. It is such a big deal that when you're the head coach and you're in a press conference and someone on your staff says, "Hey, by the way, it's official, we finally got word Jeremiah Smith is in," this is your reaction.
Really? How nervous were you?
You want to take us through your emotions real quick? How you feeling?
You got to address
The floor is yours.
You got to address that one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if everything's in yet, Jerry. You got to check to make sure it's in.
Hey, Mike, you want to check with Justin?
Yeah. Before I do something to get myself in trouble.
I mean, not only initial relief, but then he was still like, are we sure? Are we double checking he's in? That's the kind of pressure a coach has when they have the ability to get someone this talented.
And these are the type of things that happen when you're going after the best of the best in the country. And what it takes, not only from your head coach, from your assistant coaches, to be involved in that, to get to the point where you think you're going to lose them. There's a chance you can lose them. But your coaches do a great job. You do a great job of getting him secured. It's important because I know people sometimes say, hey, stars and ratings and this stuff doesn't matter. Ryan Day just showed you how much it matters. It's transformative when you can get those type of players into your program.
I just think about the conversation since the Michigan game, and some guys enter the portal, and there's all that outside noise, like, hey, what's going on in Columbus? And it's never as bad as it seems, and in fact, it might even be better than it seems. You look at this class, another top class for Ohio State. They are reloading their roster every single year, and you look at their roster next year and start to project forward. This program's in a great place, and Jeremiah Smith is the icing on the cake to complete this class.
Well, Howard, I appreciate you saying stars matter. Checks in the mail. But in addition to that, if you lose a guy on signing, if you lose somebody in November, you can go after. You have a couple official visit weekends to make that happen. When you recruit these top guys who wait until National Signing Day, you don't know if Jeremiah Smith's letter of intent is coming in. You don't know if Edric Houston's letter of intent is coming in. You can't replace those guys in this class. You certainly can't with anybody with their talent level already to begin with, and then you don't have a lot of time, obviously, today to do that.
You know, it's interesting. We've seen some programs, I won't mention them, that have gone into that arena to try to recruit those elite players. Right. And when they miss, they don't have that 3 or low 2-star, high 2-star guy that they can replace them with, and it hurts their program, and we've seen that happen.
Smith is the first wide receiver to be the #1 overall ranked recruit since DGB.